Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hannah, if you could just confirm I'm audible, right?
Yes, you're audible. I'm also requesting at this if you can start recording.
Okay, thank you. So we will start today while we wait for other participants and attendees to join. So good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the organizing team from Sphere India, NITM, AITMI, and VMMC, we are pleased to welcome you for this particular webinar. And as you know, this is third in our series on heatwave preparedness. And today, as we gather here virtually, it is crucial that we acknowledge the pressing issue of heat and heat waves in India, which is not just impacting the communities but also infrastructure and ecosystems in the country. And as a network, as a coalition, we believe that with collaborative efforts and innovative solutions, we can work towards building resilience and also ensuring the well being of our society. So, with that objective and also with continuous support and guidance from National Institute of Disaster Management, All India Disaster Management Institute, and Vardhaman Mahavir Medical College, we initiated this series of webinars to address various issues related to heat wave. As you may know, in the last two sessions, we talked about public health and safety and also safeguarding informal economy workers. And through today's session, we aim to delve deeper into the impacts of heat wave on critical infrastructure, urban ecosystems, and human health, and how the impact can be mitigated through infrastructural or technological and environmental solutions. So, our esteemed speakers and panelists that we have today, they will be sharing valuable insights and experience, and will also be shedding light on effective strategies and innovations to mitigate these challenges. Today, as you can see, we are joined by experts like Professor Anil Kumar Gupta from NIDM. We have Dr. Chandrani from School of Planning and Architecture. We have Dr. Ashish Jiddar from Natural Resources Defense Council, Dr. Jugal Kishore from VMMC, and we'll also be joined by Dr. Mahua Mukherjee from IIT Roorkee. So before we proceed, I would also like to take this chance to request all of the participants and attendees to share their feedbacks for these sessions, and also share your expectations in terms of any other topic or priority related to heatwave that we can address through this series of webinars that we are collaboratively doing. And with that, thank you once again for joining us. We hope you will find today's discussions insightful and inspiring. And without any further delay, I would like to invite Dr. Anil Kumar Gupta, Head of ECDLM Division with NIDA, to kickstart today's session with his opening remarks and context. Over to you, Anil, sir.
Thank you, Nupurji, and it's wonderful that there is a very good reception of this series. I was also taking a note of the viewers on YouTube of this series, and the innovation is this, that we are each episode is on a very specific topic, so different target groups are being addressed. So once again, compliments to the entire team, Sphere India, Vardhaman Mahavir Medical College, Safdarjung Hospital, UNICEF, and other partners who are supporting this endeavor, and all our resource persons. Very happy to welcome Professor Jugal Kishore, Dr. Chandrani, and Dr. Jindal, and all others. Atisha is coordinating from my side. So it's today's focus is on looking at the infrastructure side, and also that how do we really think of blend of the modern technology, the recent knowledge, the new understanding, but also how do we take forward the traditional wisdom also. So that is also a very important thing. I'm sure that the colleagues will be the speakers. I don't see Dr. Mahua Mukherjee. Has she joined? Atisha, has she joined?
She will be joining a little bit late, sir.
Okay, so you are from IIT Roorkee. No.
No,
Okay.
sir. No, sir. But Mahua ma'am will join a bit late in our session.
Okay, fine. So yes. So she is an architect. So She will give her perspective from architecture point of view also. So I have a short presentation to set the context of today's discussion, and I'll be sharing my screen. Uh, can you see my presentation? Atisha, would you please confirm?
So it's starting to show. I think it'll take. We can see it now.
Okay, so I'll do it on the full screen mode, and please let me know. Is it done?
Yes, sir.
And is it moving also?
Yes, sir. It's moving.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I thought of putting little focus on traditional understanding, because the heat wave is not a new phenomenon. Heat wave has been since ages, and with the increasing impact of climate change, the frequency and intensity, also the geographical spread of heat wave has increased, and that is the issue that has been made that has made this issue a major concern for both disaster managers as well as the health system functionaries, the people who are working in public health. So I have just brought few pictures just to indicate that what kind of interventions we can learn from the past, and how do we integrate modern approaches, modern technology, how do can replicate in the modern housing designs as well. So we often refer to this kind of buildings like Hawa Mahal in Jaipur. So if you visit, you will find the kind of ventilation. So these are the design and material, both are important. Then Jharokha, these kind of things. Then I will also refer to these kind of interventions where we were using lot of vegetation materials. Sometimes the dried leaf litters also, sometimes some grasses, bamboo sticks also, and these were very common in the earlier times. And but in fact, with the modifications of our building design, building material, building approaches, we have forgotten many of our traditional wisdoms. So I'm just bringing these to the reference of today's discussion, that how these has been very effective in cooling the indoor environment and providing a moderation to the heat exposure of heat wave. Then these kind of architecture also we seen the wind towers basically. So this is an example from outside the country, from Persia. So these also provide lot of ventilation, so heat doesn't accumulate. So if we talk about the confined spaces, I think these are the opportunities that we can think of. Two type of building, the agglomerations that we see in this picture. On the left side, we see that lot of heat trapping is there because there is lesser exposure, and wind also cannot pass easily. On the other side, on the right, that we see that in between we see some green spaces also, some vegetation also we can see, and there is greater opportunity of ventilation because it provides better surface area. Then now a lot of innovations and a lot of good examples are coming, that how cities have transformed. uh, Chicago, one city that has transformed greatly in US, but now we have several such good examples across the world, and in India also now we can witness certain green buildings, and green roof are now becoming very common approaches. But that is very important, that how do we really plan our landscape within the human habitat, so that we can address both at the same time. Because maybe half of the year we have the challenges of the waterlogging or floods, but later part we have the challenge of drought and then heat wave. These are also the examples, and we can find such examples in India, where we have learned to cool our indoor spaces by using vegetations. So the home gardens, like in Cochin, we did some study of home gardens. Similarly, in Noida also we saw. So we find good examples everywhere, but how do we really replicate and learn to use and integrate into our the the housing development? Then these are also the traditional wisdom. My own childhood, I recall that the villagers and the farmers used to wear this kind of hat on the left side. So there is a leaf litter, dried leaf litter, and the bamboo sticks. It is made of that, and they used to put this hat in the water, or they used to spray water on that, and then when they wear this hat, it keeps your head cool. On the right side, these are the bottles made of the bottle guard. So these kind of the local understanding, local knowledge, local innovations were there, and this kind of bottles also used to keep the water uh, uh, cold in summer season. So like Atisha is drinking water from the bottle bought from the market, but there are local innovations which can help the people who cannot afford buying the bottle from market, or they can use this kind of natural materials. So it will have double benefits. It also contributes towards circular economy, the ecological efficiency, and nature-based solutions to moderate the heat. Then these are also the solutions that we had, and these are the innovations. We used to use this kind of earthen pots or matka, but now these matkas are coming with the taps also, so that it is convenient to take water in your glass or bottle directly. So anywhere in Delhi we find, and we also used to, last time also I shown that people used to keep water for other people walking on the road, like pyau, and then for birds, for livestock, and for other the street animals also. So these kind of things now we can find in NCR Delhi also. In some locations you find this the bale. Basically this is a wood apple. So it's pulp and squashed for like a sharbat, and then it is very effective in protecting you from heat wave, and also as a treatment. On the lower side we see this sattu. So these are also the traditional, not only the food, but also considered as a medicine, or the protection from heat stroke in the summer season in many places. On the left side, extreme top left, we see that this is called the basi bhat, bora basi. This is the rice that is put with water overnight. The cooked rice put with water overnight in Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and these kinds of areas. And people use this kind of food stuff to protect them from cold. Very, very interestingly, this protects people from chilling winter during the cold season, and this food protects from heat as well. I think we need to understand the scientific dimensions behind this, and we can learn that how traditional wisdom can really help us. So I just thought of bringing few points, and since we have experts who will be talking on the specific topics requested for them. So over to you, Nupur, for taking the agenda forward for today's discussion.
Thank you so much, Anwar sir, for your presentation. So as you highlighted, traditional practices have long included, passive cooling techniques and the food items and, many other solutions. So today we have an excellent lineup of distinguished speakers who will share insights and expertise on the topic. So, building on the importance of integrating traditional knowledge, into our heat wave preparedness. So, I would like to welcome our next speaker with this backdrop to talk on more about urban planning. So, when we discuss on heat wave and its effects, it's impossible to ignore the urban design and planning. So it plays a very crucial role in heat wave resilience. So as you all know, a very high density urban areas often suffer from this phenomenon called as urban heat island effect, where temperatures are significantly higher than in the rural areas due to the concrete structures, packed infrastructures and all. So it's important that we incorporate green spaces and other strategies to mitigate the heat wave effect that creates out of this structures. So I would like to call Dr. Chandrani Bandyopadhyaya, who's working as assistant professor at School of Planning and Architecture. And ma'am, I request you to explore on building designs and urban planning for heat wave resilience. Over to you, ma'am.
Uh, Josh, I would like to correct Dr. Chandrani is associate professor, a senior associate professor. So
Sorry.
anyway, just thought of sharing with you.
It's okay. Thank you very much, uh, Hannah and Professor Gupta. It's always a wonderful feeling to come back to NIDM every time for whatever reason. So even though it's virtual, but maybe in some later date we can probably have a face-to-face. So I'll stop my video because I want to share my screen. And Hannah, really thank you for those very kind words. I assure you that I'll try to justify what you're saying. I try to do justice to how you have introduced, and especially I'm really very very humbled to be in the presence of this panel. So I'll just kind of share my screen. Yeah, is my screen visible?
Ma'am, we can see your email page.
Is it visible now?
Not the presentation, but
Yeah, I did share the screen, I think.
ma'am, there is an alternative option to share the application. So I think I've shared the screen. So if you select application, it will be.
Now?
No.
Ma'am, you can try stop sharing once and then retry sharing your PPT application.
Yeah, sure.
आई थिंक चंद्रानी इसमें नीचे आपको विंडोज एक्सप्लोरर दिख रहा होगा, उसको शेयर कर लीजिए, फिर अपना पावर पॉइंट खोल लीजिए.
Is it okay now?
Yes, now we
Yes,
can see.
yes, perfect. You
Okay.
can make it.
Okay. Apologies for the delay. So from the wonderful presentation that Dr. Gupta has shared about how heat has been a part of the life of Indians and people from the Indian subcontinent, and starting from food to housing to shelter design, I mean to clothing also. We have evolved over so many thousands of years as a very rich civilization to kind of cope with the heat. And what you mentioned as the basi bhat, Dr. Gupta, is very very popular in the eastern part of the country, as well as panta or pana bhat, and which is it has gotten a sacred connotation, because the first day of the Bengali or the Odia New Year, we have it's a custom to have the panta, or the fermented rice. So as a mark of welcome to summer. So therefore heat has been a part of our lives. But then where then lies the concern, is where we are actually looking at now. The context, I'll just rush through this, all of you know this, and but just to get things in perspective, like what is that context? The context is that the world is warming up, and so are our cities, and we are warming up very rapidly. That is the concern, because we've always had the earth warming up, cooling down, but the fact that the we are warming up very very rapidly, and that 2023, every year of the last decade we say that it was the warmest of the decade, so it was 2019, and then 2023 was the warmest year since global record keeping began. So therefore you see, from 2014 to 23, every year we are looking at more and more warming of the earth. And therefore what the implications are very very severe. And what IPCC says is, as you all know, we are in a code red for humanity. So code red, as we know, is the
Excuse me,
maximum
ma'am.
amount.
Sorry to interrupt you. Your slides are not moving.
Oh god.
I think you've made it full screen. Can you just uh, undo that? I think sometimes due to full screen, we're not able
Is
to
it
see the
okay?
slides. Yeah, now we can see it.
Okay. I don't know. I
Just don't
think I've
make it full
forgotten.
screen.
I
Yeah, just
think I've
don't make it full
forgotten
screen.
the WebEx part of it, Dr. Gupta. We don't use WebEx these days. It's much here. So, anyways, is it okay now?
Yes, we can see this
Just check.
slides now. Yeah.
Just check. It's okay?
Are you moving it?
Yeah.
No, no, now we cannot see it. Just don't make it full screen.
Okay. Yeah, there's nothing much in this. So what we are saying is that the world is warming up, and therefore our cities are also warming up. Now there are two things very parallel. If you look at the urban planning part of it, the first thing an urban planner gets is or sees is that we are looking at two verticals. We are looking at a very very high rate of urbanization. The world is becoming urban, very fast. And UN Habitat says that we are now changing from Homo sapiens to Homo sapien urbanus. That's what UN Habitat talked about in 2011. And again, here we are saying that every year is a year that is warmer than the last. So the 10 warmest years in historical record have been in the last decade. So therefore the implications are huge. And the implications therefore, and like as IPCC said, it is a code red for humanity. So when we are talking about warming here, if you look at, I hope they, I don't know, okay, I don't know. I can't find the pointer, so it's okay. So when we are looking at this, the picture on my right, we see that from 1901 to 2023, the rate of warming has been gradual. But if we just look at that picture from 94 to 23, the rate of warming has been humongous. It is very very rapid and very fast. So now if we come to the cities, what we see is that from various sources and various research that's going on, that cities are warming about 29% faster than rural areas. So this was a study published in Nature of about 2000 urban settlements across the world. And so we see that cities are warming up. So it is not that they are warmer period over a one point of time, but it is a progressive activity that's happening. And daytime temperatures are warming, the cities are also warming during the night. So it is happening even faster in mega cities, and the average is much higher than the normal, the smaller cities. And what we see in India, if we put things together, the in India, we are going from urbanization to metropolitanization. So our larger cities are becoming larger, and the smaller cities are stagnating. So if that is the these two things, or the two two verticals that we put together, we are in for a very severe warming in terms of the cities. So when we are talking about, this is again the study that I was talking about. What I would like to point out, this is all available in the public domain. But what I would just like to point out is that having a data is fine, but to have or to know what we do with the data is very important. So here we see that Asia has the highest, or warming, or Asian cities warming up very, very fast. So when we talk of the surface warming trend, per decade, Asian cities are warming very fast during the day as well as during the night. Now, Asia again is also urbanizing very fast. So these two things we need to keep in mind, that it is not just the heat, but also the fact that more and more people are coming to live in urban areas, or are becoming urban. So therefore, you see, we in Asia, we in India, South Asia especially, given that we are prone to urbanization which is very ad hoc, and much of it is rather unplanned, the urban governance is rather weak, we need to understand that heat is a reality and growing very fast along with the urbanization. So when we plan for cities, therefore it becomes a responsibility of planners, that if you get the, most of us planners, we don't get the opportunity to plan for greenfield areas. So if we are planning for even brownfield areas or even greenfield areas, we need to understand that we need to plan so that this heat that will happen in maybe 10 years time, maybe 5 years time, or maybe 20 years time, we need to put it together with the level of urbanization that we are planning for. So when we are talking about the cities, why are cities getting hotter? Of course, we cities are drivers of climate change as well as the victims of climate change. So when we are talking about cities, we say that about 70 to 75% of the greenhouse emissions come from the cities, and it affects us the maximum. Right. So therefore, it's a kind of a vicious circle, that the hotter the cities are getting, we are trying to run more ACs, we are trying to and in the process we are emitting more and more greenhouse gases. And so eventually the city temperature, the ambient temperature goes up, and it has its own implications in terms of human health, in terms of human livability, in terms of a lot of other things. Now the point remains is, what can we do to make it better? Like, there is a construction going on right above my head, you can hear it, I guess. And the first thought that came to my mind is, what are they going to do with the CND waste that they are generating? They are refurbishing the tiles. So what will happen to the construction and demolition waste, which we know are a cause of urban heat as well? Right. So therefore, when we are talking of urban heat, we also look at something called urban heat island, and there's a lot of talk on that as to how the downtown, or the areas where the building density or the built up density is very high, the temperature of course is higher compared to the suburban areas or the rural areas. So even the suburban areas which are low rise and low density are cooler, while the high rise and high density areas are much hotter. So when we are talking about the urban heat island, now there it is the cumulative effect of factors like pollution, it is the cumulative of extent of covering of soil surface, the kind of concretization of our cities that we are going in for, the kind of concrete roads that we are laying. Asphalt, by the way, has a very high heat absorbent capacity. So therefore all these kind of get together to create very very high or very intense heat islands. So vehicular emissions, the structures, the canyons or heat canyons, that when there are too many high rise buildings over a very small area, and the airflow is kind of obstructed, we find that the heat canyons get generated, which are very bad for human health and human quality of life. So all these things kind of get together and become play a very important role in terms of warming up the cities. Now the implications can be that the mean air temperature of a million plus city can be 1 to 3 degrees that compare higher than the surrounding areas, and the roof and pavement surface temperatures are even hotter, right? So when we are talking about urban built up, so we are talking about a very very hot city that there is. Now what are the implications of it? Of course, the energy costs. You can't live in heat, can you? So you require more energy, more electricity, more ACs. So even in a temperate city like London, the cooling load is 25% more than the neighboring countryside. So therefore, while heating loads have decreased, sorry, and the CO2 emissions have risen by 5 times. So all, and this has a very indirect socio-economic impact in terms of livelihoods, also in terms of health, also in terms of human quality of life, and a lot of other even interruption in the curriculum in the school year. You have to give start your holidays, vacations earlier for children and things like that. So now, can we plan cities to be cooler, is the question that we've been pondering about. So what influences the urban heat island? It's the anthropogenic heat sources, that is whatever we, our vehicles, our buildings, our pavements, everything that we as humans we have managed to, what we call as development. So that those are heat sources. The geometry of urban surfaces, how we design our cities, how our urban morphology is designed. You see, is there ample an airflow? Is there or is there an air canyon or a heat canyon? So these, the trade-off between these two, how do you, maybe if you have to maintain an airflow, you have to change the orientation of the buildings in some way or the other, which I guess Professor Mukherjee will detail out. So the urban roughness, that is the material. What is the material that you are using? Is it a reflective material or is it an absorbent material? And the availability of moisture to create that kind of heat. So now, can planners do anything about it? Now what we have done is, what we look at in terms of conditions which kind of affect our heat, the heat of cities, we've kind of put it in under three main heads: the environmental, which is climate, meteorological, something that are quite not really very controllable factors; the socio-economic, of course, the population density, the vehicular density, the volume by capacity ratio, what is the length of the roads and how many vehicles, what is the congestion factor that there is, then the GHG emissions and the development footprint. What is that area, that what is that built up, that net density that there is? So that development footprint again becomes a very important part of understanding the heat part of it, and the urban morphology, the land use, the urban fabric, like I was talking about, the surface characteristics, the built up density, the building height to street width ratio. I mean, if you have a narrow street and tall buildings, you will have a very low, what is called the sky view factor, and you will be liable to create a heat canyon. So therefore all these things kind of get to come together. Now we have had tried to put in one of our small little studies over 2 months or so, we tried to kind of map out the city of Agra, which one of the most important cities in terms of tourism and a heritage city at that, and also an industrial town. So when we were looking at the LST of Agra, that is the land surface temperature in the month of April, right? Now in 2004, you will find now the outer boundary is the development area and the inner boundary is your corporation area, right? Now if you look at the 2004 the LST, the land surface temperature, we see that the highest temperature range is 30 to 35, right, which is in red, right? Sorry, in blue. uh, so this is the highest temperature range, and the old city of Agra is, and this is the river, old city of Agra is hotter. But in 2023 we see that the highest temperature range is 57 to 59, you see. And how that city in from 2004 to 2023, the city itself has heated up. And when we look at the climatic conditions, we see that the temperature trend is very positive and it is getting warmer. And on top of it, there is a huge dust load in Agra. Why? Because there are certain the prevailing wind direction is from Rajasthan, and the marble dust or the marble industries in Rajasthan, the marble dust comes straight into Agra, so that also creates a lot of other impact. So when we're looking at all this now, then we are trying to put it into how the city has grown, right? The land use and the land cover, and we see that in 2004 or in 1994, it was just a little bit of built up area and how it has grown. The important thing is, on the face of it, it looks as if that these areas have remained green. They have not remained green. The land use has changed from green to barren. Now barren land has absolutely no vegetation, right, and very dusty, absolutely ripe for encroachment. So when we are talking of the change of land use, so what was green in 1994, perhaps this area particularly has become barren land, which again helps in absorbing of the heat, and it doesn't do anything about cooling of that area. So this is the way the heat has kind of grown. Then we put it on top of
Excuse
the
me, ma'am.
moisture. Yeah.
I'm really
Sorry.
sorry for interrupting you, but if you can like share the PPT with us, or if you can wind
Sorry.
up the points. If you can wind up with the
Yeah,
final
I'm
points,
just
it's
going in
very
my
good.
own flow. I'll wind up. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah. So when we're talking about the moisture index also, we see that this blue area is very low moisture. That means what? It's and when we're talking of the vegetation, there's very less vegetation. So the core area, that therefore has a very very high heat index, and we then tried to look at the density, the population per hectare, and we saw that maximum people were living there only. So they were the ones who were looking at, or who were facing the heat, the in terms of the development of the city. Then we tried to put the traffic congestion points on it, and the EV charging stations, which are heat generators. And we saw that these areas also are the same, those core areas and the market areas, or what we call the Tajganj area. So when we're trying to look at the land use, which is a tool of planners, we see that the residential has increased, and how the guidelines compared to the benchmarks, how the figures have differed. So when we are talking about the building footprint and the parks also, we see the same thing, that the highly dense areas are those areas which suffer from the maximum heat. In terms of the sky view factor also, these east west streets are better compared to the areas which are hotter and more densely populated. So the same thing, the same pattern goes on in the heat sink maps as well. And therefore what we found was that this area in Agra, which is the Tajganj as well as the center part of it, the traffic crossings are the hottest in terms of Agra. So what do we do now? Every city has very different characteristics, so the strategies will have to be, there is no one size fits all even in urban planning, and the strategies have to shift, from city to city. So what we can say is that there is you can have a compact urban form. So instead of sprawling, instead of having a very car centric city, a compact urban form. But then again, it depends from city to city, which city will gain from a compact form, or which city will not. So the building orientation, accessibility in terms of infrastructure services, we are talking about 15-minute cities and all this. The urban greening part of it is something that everybody is talking about. So in the urban scale, we talk of urban design and infrastructure, the district cooling, the community centric in the initiatives, and there are certain energy efficient and thermal efficient at the building scale. Now the 330-300 rule has become very, very popular these days. And so the thumb rule is that, or the idea is that everyone should be able to see at least, the city should be designed so that everyone should be able to see at least 3 mature trees from their homes and place of work, and there should be a 30% tree canopy cover in each neighborhood, and the maximum distance to the nearest high quality green space should be 300 meters. Now that in the Indian city context is a very, very tall order. So but then we can try and build or plan the cities in terms of tree canopy, in terms of the nature based solutions, the blue infrastructure, green infrastructure, the interconnected greens, the hierarchy. And as planners, we try and maintain the hierarchy of greens that we have, starting from an urban forest to a neighborhood green space. So all these things kind of, and then even look at the plant species which have a canopy that will cool. For example, mango and jamun, which are very, very Indian trees. I again go back to what Dr. Gupta has talked about in terms of traditional forms. So rather than going in for those species which are ornamental and maybe a landscape architect's dream, but let us look at the traditional and the indigenous species which have a higher canopy, a better canopy cover, and can help in terms of cooling down the cities, so like mango and jamun and things like that. So therefore all these things get together depending on the city as to how we look at, or how we try and cool down the city. So in Agra we have kind of given certain solutions in terms of in terms of shifting of activities, because the leather industry is very polluting. But it may be different in other cities also. So therefore that is basically how a city can be planned in terms of cooling it down. So that is all that I have for today. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this very informative presentation. Like you have highlighted a very important topics on like what the different sources that cost depleting, like anthropogenic forces, geometric surfaces, and availability of moisture, and also for highlighting the case study like the study that you did in Agra. It was it was very well like explained, and also the 330-300 rule, and maybe we all can see how well we can adapt that in the Indian context, and also for explaining the nature-based solutions like green infrastructures, blue gray infrastructures, and also the green roof. So with this, I would like to move on to our next speaker, and I and welcome Ashish Jindal sir, who's the lead for the NRGC's work on energy efficiency and cooling in India. So we all know energy efficient buildings not only reduce the demand of air conditioning, which is skyrocketing right now, but also lower the greenhouse gas emissions. So we all know that implementing cooling solutions such as cool roofs and insulated walls can maintain like a comfortable temperature like wherever we are, and it's a very good solutions for surviving this heat. So without further delay, I would like to welcome Ashish sir to explain more on the Ahmedabad cool roof programs that he was involved with, and to delve into the effective insulation techniques and simple cooling solutions that both rural and urban households can. Over to you, sir. Sir, you are muted. Can you unmute this?
Thank you so much, Hannah. And I would like to, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to speak among very important panelists. I think I really I was just getting immersive with the discussion and the points raised by Professor Gupta and Dr. Chandrani. So quickly, I'll have a presentation. I touch upon, one second, just allow me to share it. If my screen is visible?
Yes, sir. Just
Okay. So basically today I'm going to discuss about cool roof from pilot to policy. So basically, as we know, this is the latest C for all cooling prospect report, which says that globally about 1.212 billion people are at high risk due to lack of access to cooling. And we have also seen lot of data about heat. 2023 was the hottest. Maybe we'll see 2024 in coming years to be more hotter. So point is like there is a high risk to the people. In India, about 309 million people are at high risk, which is about 28% of the global total. And when we talked about medium risk to high risk, about 1.04 billion people are at medium to high risk, and they are going to soon purchase the cooling solution. And when we talked about cooling solution, we normally used to think about air conditioners, ceiling fans, but we never give a lot of weightage about the passive solutions such as cool room. So we will going to discuss today, and we are going to share our story, how basically starting from heat action plan, that is like the first heat action plan of South Asia from the Ahmedabad, has lead to a lot of pilot demonstration and the policy adoption in the state, and how we are moving ahead at national level, and also and with working with various states on working with urban cooling policy, urban surface cooling policy. So we are working at various level so that the solutions can be adopted by various states. Now we know this is also like not only temperature is a constraint, the humidity. When we merge both humidity and temperature, which is also known as wet bulb temperature, is going to be fatal, right? So that's why it is going to be very important. Like we should have such solution in to be implemented as soon as possible. This is also some data from the World Bank report, which says about 200 million plus people are going to expose by heat waves by 2030. 34 million plus people will lose job due to productivity loss. And also, as per India Cooling Action Plan, which is first of cooling action plan launched globally by any country, that there would be a demand of 8x in cooling requirement by 2037. All this, as we also know, the issues of UHI in cities, our cities are getting more urbanization. These issues are getting first impact on infants and children, elderly people, people with health condition, and urban poor. So that's why I think a solution which is like cool roof, which is very simple, just whatever sunlight is coming, it maximize the radiation, which is basically because of its property, either through paint or maybe membrane or maybe tile. So the idea is less amount of heat gets into the habitat space, which allows a short wavelength, and that short wavelength goes out of the atmosphere, right? So there are few like ways of UHI which we already discussed. I would like to skip this, but on the cool roof solutions, like we have cool coating, shingles, China mosaic tile, membranes. These are few of the solutions under cool roof. Now, when we talked about benefit of cool roofs, largely it is demonstrated from our pilot, and that there is a reduction of uh, in-house temperature of about 2 to 5 degree, a reduction of 14 to 26% of air conditioner energy. There is a reduction of urban heat island effect if it is done on large scale, reduce mortality, offset CO2 emission, and also delay global warming. There are few examples which I would like to show that how from, if you see on the top, there is a building, west building and east building. where there was a black surface and it is transformed to white. Because of the reflective difference, there was a saving which was achieved, which is like about 20 kilowatt hour per meter square in the energy consumption, and also in the you can say ultimate calculation in the CO2 emission reduction. These are also very very easy to applicable in the low income household, because one of the solution which is paint is like can be is a very simple cost effective solution which can be carried out in a very fast manner. Similarly, there are a few examples where we have seen the reduction in temperature, the surface temperature to the tune of 10 degree, and also in the habitat temperature. For example, this is a school, GFH school, where there's a reduction, the increase in the comfort hours about 23% increase from the range of 22 to 30 degrees Celsius. Similarly, there is a global example where one of the city Almeria in Spain, it is found over some calculation that this greenhouse cover about 350 square kilometer of the region, and over the last 20 years, the temperature have fallen by zero point 0.3 degrees Celsius. Similarly, if you see on the left, this is one of the Greece famous city. It's very picturesque, Santorina. And the history behind this is why it is painted white is because earlier it used to have wood, and wood, although was a good insulation, but later on, because of heat capacity, it can't radiate or emit, it leads to a lot of heat. Then there is a in 1967 there was a law, and in 74 government passed this that all the space to be white, and this has really impacted a lot of the user space to reduce the temperature. Similarly, example in Riyadh, where to about 3,000 odd, you can say, buildings, this has been done, and about 4.5 degrees Celsius of reduction have been achieved. These are few examples. Again, just if you see through some thermal imaging also on the top bottom, the 52 degrees Celsius has been reduced to 33 degrees Celsius on roof. Similarly on road also, right? These are also few examples. So point is, I would like to show through this is like there are a lot of scientific evidence both globally, India, the programs like Million Cool Roof Challenge, New York Cool Roof, LA Cool Roof. There are many programs happening, and this is one of the key passive solution which can actually impact the issues of heat and ultimately the UHI impact. How what NRDC has done, as I have told earlier, is through Heat Action Plan, which is one of the first heat action plan of South Asia in Ahmedabad. This was one of the key attribute that we have to do for the cool roof. About 3,000 homes, we basically work with the private sector, and we have painted them. You can see on the bottom one, the mayor of Ahmedabad, the ex-mayor, was actually painting it, and it actually impacts the people there. So with that, we basically have also reached to Telangana, and we have devised and developed a policy which is based on target-based program, a phase-out implementation program. So coming back to Ahmedabad, we had done a lot of science-based analysis where it was found that there's a lot of growth in electricity demand is going to be happen from 2018 to 2030, which is almost double. AC is to be almost 3 times, but with the cool roof, if we expand our coverage from 5% to 20%, approximately 0.21 terawatt hour of reduction can be happen. So, these are some of the outreach and awareness measures which were put like in the form of hoarding, website, social media, uh, a local slum level awareness program, so that people should know that how basically it's going to impact them. Next, coming on the Telangana cool roof policy, we had done a lot of pilot last year on in April 2023. We launched this policy working with our partners, and these are few steps which basically were very helpful, and we are trying in other states also. So first of all, to do a demonstration, establishing a local evidence so that there should be a confidence among the stakeholders, then working with real estate developers, CSOs, architects to discuss what should be the local policy which should state has, and then doing some amendment, working with government, a policy release, and working on the implementation. These are few of the pictures of cool roof pilot in Telangana. Uh, this is the target they have basically uh, uh, agreed on, that for next 5 years they are going to have 300 square kilometer of coverage, which is basically going to happen, and this going to save about 600 million units of electricity and one-time carbon offset of 30 million tons of CO2 equivalent. These are few of the key aspects of the policy, where for all government, non-residential, and commercial building, it is mandatory. Similarly, residential plot area of 600 square yard and above, and government supported PMAY program. And the optional is largely for the rooftop solar system, and which building is having more than 60% of green top and the area less than 600 square yard. What is needed? So there is a policy, there are pilots, we are working with other states, but still we feel that there should be a national level policy and guidelines from MOA, NDMA, which can actually strengthen and speeden the implementation of cool roof. Similarly, we need a lot of those things like testing protocols, performance and aging, setting up of something like cool roof rating council, which can actually see how the quality is ensured, impact assessment through dashboard, and program monitoring. So we are working on few of the things, but I think it needs more, you can say, partnership, more interaction, so that we can see, especially considering India as under the passive cooling solution. This is one of the important intervention to be mentioned. So thank you. And my last message is, your roof can help save our planet. Choose school. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashish sir, for that wonderful presentation. It was a very inspiring case study indeed, and for explaining how cost effectively it can be done, and the impacts that it have, the positive impacts that it have on an individual basis and also for the community. And also, I feel like this is a very good example of collaborative efforts between organizations, CSOs, like private organizations and governments. Thank you so much. I'm sure there'll be certain questions, but we'll keep it to the end. Thank you so much for your presentation. And continuing on this theme, I would like to call our next speaker, Dr. Jigar Kishore sir from Vardhaman Mahavir Medical College. Sir, I request you to address the health risks that is assigned with the shelter designs. So we know that in India we have different kind of settlements on different socioeconomic categories. So if you can let us know, how the health risk is associated with poor shelter conditions, and what can be some of the practical solutions to improve the living environments and mitigate the health risk that comes with it. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, Anna, thank you very much. It is already like you rightly said that I should focus on health, and the building components uh, and the roofing is already discussed. The topic which I am going to cover is to find out the relationship of shelter and health, and how this is going to affect during the heat wave. Uh, so when we say shelter means the housing, and this housing, I just want to say that we have a healthy housing concept, and this healthy housing means what WHO says about health, and applying the definition of health, and we can say the healthy housing as a shelter that support a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Whatever you do, whatever wherever you want to work, that environment should be good enough to give you a sense of well-being. That's what the healthy building or healthy housing is concerned. Now in that uh, area, what just want to say that when we say shelter, shelter means it is already discussed, but I just want to say that In that we have the structural stability, uh, which is looking after that heat and cold and winds and all these things. So the wall, roof, floor, and door and windows all are come into that. And also we have the kitchen and sanitary facilities, so they are protected and should not be heated, or maybe you can say should not be dangerous to the people living there. And provision of heating and cooling in according to the weather. Then we should also see that the housing and shelter should not lead to any kind of injury, the way we are making it, or maybe leading to more infection or diseases or mental stress. These are very important when we say the healthy shelter. So when we talk about this healthy shelter, uh, the what is important now, that we talk about this green or healthy building, or maybe you can say the healthy hospital, although the hospital is meant for providing the health, but the structure or everything of the hospital should also be such that it's not lead to a problem to the patient and also to the workers working there. And in that, the green word has been used more often as compared to the healthy. Although we have the healthy schools or healthy building, healthy, all these things can be, combination of not only just green, but also, other component also. So in that, the building is important. Uh, the roofing or walls or floor or paint or furniture. I'll just focus on that how these all things are leading to a problem. When we say if we have the asbestos roofing, which is still, you can find in many of the places in our rural areas or in some of the best areas, which we can say. So it leads to exposure during the time of manufacturing or transportation or building, creating a building, or maybe removing, repairing. All that time, some kind of risk is there to cause asbestosis or mesothelioma. So this can give rise to a cancer. So all these group of people are at risk, which could be, wherever it can be, bricklayers or carpenters or construction workers, electrician, which are making the wire connected to the wall or maybe roof, or industrial workers, mansions. All these people are even resident living in that house where the asbestos roof is there. Similarly, we have the concept of poor housing and health. So we have few examples. They are all established examples, like if the floor or say the number of people in that, or ventilation system, or maybe I think the way it is coated, the ground is coated, or staircase is made. These are all linked to our home accidents, fall, cuts, hit, or electric accidents. Uh, in that case, I can say that yesterday only I have gone to the hostels of the boys and girls and also resident doctors, and to do the audit, the fire audit. And I found many places, the fire, risk is there. And it is because of the wire just open, or maybe plug without any proper, plugs. It is all, bare wires are put into that switch. Then we have the indoor thermal environment, which can lead to the skin conditions like the skin rashes, scalding, or maybe pruritus. uh, Ventilation are already linked with so many diseases, including lung cancers. Then the noise is linked with our mental stress. It has been found with our cardiovascular diseases, myocardial infarctions, angina, coronary artery disease, stroke, and congestive heart failures. When people are living in that house, which are more noisy, and having the potential to be some kind of closer to market or a road, or maybe recreational activity or food giant or fast food, these all things are linked. So the kind of housing we have definitely going to affect your health. So the housing has to be made in a proper manner. Similarly, it has been found that, the type of construction also allow the vector to breed closer or inside and leading to malaria or dengue, or the floor area is linked with stroke or venous thrombosis. We have the housing conditions like the lighting, heating, condensations, or the dump wall. They are all linked with our mental health. Similarly, it has been found we have, if suppose the household have a lot of cockroaches and mouse infestation and dirty, then the depression symptoms has been found in those people who are staying in those kind of dwellings. Then concentration of PM 2.5 and indoor humidity, which is already discussed, but I just want to say that it is decreasing your lung functional capacity, and the quality of the house, like the way it is viewed, or outside the view, the balconies, the indoor quality and the outdoor environment, all are linked with our mental stress or mental depressions. So you can see that not only the mind but the body and every system is getting affected just because of your poor housing conditions. So poor shelter and health, again, some of the studies showing overcrowding shelters are leading to excessive morbidity, which are actually preventable, such as dysentery, tuberculosis, scabies, and measles. So you can see that if we are living in an overcrowded, dwellings, then leading to such infectious disease like the COVID example, where a lot of COVID occur in a congested area. Similarly, we have the tuberculosis or influenza or pertussis like diphtheria. Cerebrospinal meningitis is also found because it's a bacterial infection or a viral infection. So we have the pneumonia or meningitis. They are all common in the places where we have overcrowding. Similarly, it has been found if the intimate partner violence in the house is there, which is part of that system of the housing, leading to, or the kind of the shelter provided to refugee people. I think you can find more partner violence or a child abuse or marriage, or maybe I think which affect their dignity or psychosocial well-being. So these are all linked to our poor shelter and health. When we focus on indoor air quality and health, then we found large number of people actually still using the solid fuels, which lead to lot of pollution in our houses. And it is evident that 4.3 billion, million people are actually children, particularly an adult, died prematurely. They could have survived but died. So this is a big, burden on the society when we just say about indoor air quality. Similarly, this is increasing the number of the suffering, just because the people are now using the kerosene stove, heaters, and lamp, and then leading to injuries like the fire and scald and burn. So they are adding to what the deaths are there. So the morbidity, mortality, injuries are all linked with our kind of the quality of house and the air we have. Similarly, it has been associated like our air quality linked with our asthma, respiratory disease, uh, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is again very common, that is COPD, lung cancer, TB, cerebrovascular disease, ischemic heart disease, low birth weight of the babies. The growth in the womb is also affected when we have poor air quality inside the house. Or similarly, it is also linked with our indoor smoking, behavior of the husband or wife. So you can see that this is another example. If suppose we have a poor problem, poor indoor and poor housing condition, and then we have the heat wave over it. So when we have the increased heat wave, what is interesting has been found from this slide, which is one of the study. done in the US, showing that in May, June, July, where the temperature is high, the indoor temperature and outdoor temperature, the outdoor temperature increases, you know, so the indoor temperature is coincide, and you can say they are, in the same, but indoor temperature remains same, have no relationship when the outdoor temperature dip down in December or January. It shows that, when the outside temperature is quite high, the indoor temperature is going to be high, or, similar to outside. So, it is a problem in areas where the outdoor temperature is going up. So heat wave is really creating problem. Then we also found that the indoor air pollution is increased manifold when we have the heat waves. Like it has been found out that air pollutant increases manifold. The concentration of the air pollutant increases in the house when the temperature increases. So these are all studies showing that when we have the indoor temperature increases, the humidity also increases, the emission of total volatile organic compound increases. And these are all, the compound which are actually used in a different, ceiling or maybe roofing or flooring or walls. It is all already said, but I just want to say that outside temperature increases, certain pollutant level inside the, house also, you know, increases, and because of the air exchange, is from outside, it is sucking the air, and you are not letting the air to go out, just because of you are closing all the windows for the air conditioning. So they are increasing the pollutant more in those areas. So that is why we have the sick building syndrome, particularly in summer, leading to a whole building which is air conditioned become the hot oven in certain areas. So you can see that we have the evidence that the poor housing leading to poor health, and all kinds of disease can occur and increase manifold. The evidence are emerging, although more research is required. But what can be done? So our friends from the planning and architect has already suggested that we require good planning of the area, which is particularly in India, is very poor. You all know that land use is not based on any planning. It is very rough and very random, leading to a lot of problems. And later on, it is difficult to correct the changes which has occurred. So we have to make them aware. The population has to be aware that once you are using the land, please consult the architect and get the housing and everything in a proper manner. Or say RWA should also consult the good architect looking into the areas, also the the temperature which is going to increase in future, or maybe a kind of changes will occur in the climate, has to be considered when they are planning the building. Similarly, if they understand the heat wave and the shelter and their health is linked, I think they will be definitely need to develop the skills. Unfortunately, the architects are not, consulted most of the time in our buildings, because the buildings are usually licensed or maybe approved or certified by the any bodies. They are making their houses according to their own. That is why, awareness of these people are required. Their skills to understand these all things are required. They must understand the vegetation is important. So the role of the park, role of urban areas and rural areas are required. Similarly, the water treatment system, also the harvesting system, all these things are very important to decrease the heat impact during the heat waves. Similarly, the way the material is used, or say the ventilation is prepared and or say constructed in the building, they are all important. So they need to be made aware, understand it. And I think role of the architect planners become more and more. They should be more friendly, more approachable to the community and people. They should not be afraid of the certification or say planning. So the more interaction will be helping people to understand these all things. Then only I think we can make our society much, suitable for having the healthy and a green society, or green communities and green houses and hospitals and other buildings. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for highlighting the health impacts, and also for sharing us who all, like which all occupations are more vulnerable to this, and like also for highlighting about the mental health impacts. I'm pretty sure many of us in this webinar are also facing like issues that because of the temperature that is rising. Thank you so much for highlighting it. We will move on to our last speaker, final speaker for the day. I would like to welcome Dr. Mahal Mukherjee, who is a professor at Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Dr. Mukherjee will discuss on addressing heat wave risk in shelter design, focusing on sustainable materials that we can use, the construction practices, and also now we request you to share some light on the impact of heat waves in Indian context, particularly on the vulnerable groups. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, organizing committee, to invite me, uh, because this is a very important topic of today. I think almost all the Indians are feeling that heat in real sense. During this season, it's a very, very topical discussion. Uh, though it has been mentioned in the communication that it has to, the discussion will be in and around shelter, but probably I would like to go beyond shelter as well, because built environment is a particular area or scale where uh, we deal a lot nowadays, not only at the shelter level, individual building level. I will try to make it very brief, because I know that I am also a very late entrant into this discussion. I was listening to Dr. Kishore's beautiful rendition and discussion on this shelter aspect from different perspectives. I would like to just talk about the mitigating heat wave impacts. There probably we can discuss certain activities. I would like to categorize these activities for the benefit of our discussion being streamlined in three different segments. One is to stop doing certain things. That is going to be one category. Another category will be undo certain things, and that is possible. Third thing, do something, do several things, do it right. That will be the third category. In the first category, when we talk about the housing shelter level, yeah, we know there are a lot of good researches already available on the palette, and we know how the urbanization is moving in India. So it will not be very relevant to bring that discussion for this very time constraint interaction right now. But lot of things we already know, which is available in the field, that what is not to be done to stop what type of development, what type of shelters. And it doesn't really stop us only at building level, core unit level, but it goes beyond the built environment level as well. I would like to bring certain examples of this, what not to do, like a very different thing. I'm not, though I come from architecture and planning department, but probably my first example will be very social. That don't try to hold any extra shelter or accommodation for your family. Don't go for that extra bit. It is not necessary. It may be necessary for you for having some good investment, but all of these families who can afford, this extra thing is actually making a big difference in the market, and unnecessarily we are adding built units, which is not necessary. So there shall be a very clear demarcation between our need and our greed. So that is that, and this is at each and every level we can question us, at personal level, at family level, at social level. So like that, in the built environment also, I can say that we are doing a lot of interventions where we are really trying to take advantage of the ecosystems which is available with us. We try to intervene because those are the easy prey. There is no construction there, and these are the easy spaces or areas which can be demarcated through a certain, just a new norm will come, a new law will come, and it will say, okay, the land use pattern of this particular parcel is changing from this type to that type. So this is again something we should really stop doing it. Recently, I was in Kolkata. I have never experienced this type of hot, dry heat wave scenario in Kolkata. Kolkata doesn't have the ponds right now, and forget about the this trees, vegetations, and the interconnectedness is the another lost entity. So these are the things we have to also stop doing, killing these natural ecosystems which are existing into the urban ecosystem. That is something very important. Next category, that is the undo thing. Undo is it is not something very, I will say, hypothetical. We have seen lot of good examples where undoing wrongdoings have been really done. At the city level, in the Seoul, Korea, South Korea, we have seen that Cheonggyecheon, that particular river, was having a full cover previously. They have undo that. They brought out that cover, they brought back that river to the citizens. And they have done a lot of good interventions where we can see that how to create urban spaces. And the great changes when you are in the main city area, CBD, and when you are in the suburb, the nature of that surrounding areas of that particular river changes. So undoing thing is very much possible. Only thing, we have to believe that things are necessary. So whatever we have lost at the cost of certain ecosystems, we can bring them back. We can undo in our own apartment buildings, in the complexes, in the gated complexes. We can really undo several things. So these are something which we should really practice, and it depends on our confidence, on our knowledge. And at every level, at your personal level, at your social level, everywhere, you can really influence if you believe in these. And the last thing I would like to talk about is the do list. There are a long list of the what we can do. And I know that we were also listening to right now only Mr. Jugal Kishore, and I believe we have also have very strong acquaintance with what we need to do. But my only submission here will be, we should not really do something very unprofessional, jugaad job, that is not working in a positive way for the society. If we have to do something, it shall be a properly engineered interventions. If it is a proper, let's say, even for the houses, it should be not only socially appropriate or environmentally responsible, but technically also it should be very sound. And lot of good rating systems are available. Some of we can really choose among them, and we can try to understand where if a new building is coming, where it stands. So the do list needs a lot of our professional expertise, and I believe we can continuously contribute to the do list. I would like to give another example from the built environment sector. It is slightly from the research side, because I come from a research institute. So our example are not only from the real life thing, also what different type of researches we can do. In today's time, technology has improved so nicely that we can even create the real life city on the 3D platforms. This particular heat wave, urban climate and UHI, all these things, we can actually simulate them. We can create different scenario, and the scenario need not to be done only for the present time. We can also take advantage of the studies which is showing the future. So in future, what is going to be the scenario, that climate change aspect can be added to this scenario. And we can see that if we are planning for some mitigation strategies, how good they are or how really short they are from the solution side. So several things we can do today's time. We are using a lot of AI/ML as well, especially in this urban climate studies. We are creating the 3D models, and we can actually recreate the scenario, which is very much real life. Again, the professional competency comes there, but all this can be part of the do list to mitigate this heat wave impact. I would like to stop here, Hannah, but I would like to really again highlight these 3 points: stopping, undoing, and doing these 3 categories.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. This was a perfect ending for the session. Thank you for highlighting. Actually, we can take it as a like a slogan: stop, undo, and do. So thank you for highlighting and also for talking about the research component in it and how at individual level we can make a difference. So today's session was very impactful. We started with urban designs that we can do the sources of different like the sources of different heat wave components and also the many nature-based solutions. Also, we talked about the cool roof systems and how our Ahmedabad cool roof system was implemented. Also, it's now being done in the Telangana. And we also talked about the health impacts on different shelter settlements. And finally, we had Dr. Mukherjee giving us very practical solutions on like architectural basis. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now we'll move on to the Q&A part, and I would like to hand it over to Atisha.
Joanna. I think we had a few questions, but they have already been answered by Ashish Jindal ji on the chat itself. Do we have any more questions? The participants, they can either raise their hands or drop their questions in the chat box. Okay, so we have one question or an observation, we can say. The government buildings, roads, bridges, cities, houses are threatening the existence of people living in cities. Do we have laws to prevent and control the materials used for construction sectors? The contractors in India are looting the construction sector and working with profit motive than safety. In case we do not have laws for safeguarding the life, illiteracy of, okay, how can we stop further damage of to the citizens? Sir, I think Anil sir, would you like to address this?
Very interesting question. But yes, I will say that if we look into the legal regime, so there is no dearth of laws. And in fact, bringing a new law is not the solution to everything, because we have many codes and standards already there. We have the National Building Code, and that prescribes about the materials also, designs also. Many times what happens that the standards are there which are not properly followed. So this is point number one. Second, that how do we really invest in this thing, looking into the futuristic risk. Many times when we plan, we do not think that we will be having any kind of a challenges associated with water management or challenges associated with heat. We do not give priority to these things in deciding our type of building, designs, material, all these things. Yeah? For example, if you go to buy a flat, often you more often you will look at that how much do you have a parking or not, and then they will be selling you, telling that it has a parking park facing or the east facing or whatever. So how do you really prioritize the things when you negotiate with when you buy the flat, or when you construct your own, when you build your own house? How do you prioritize the things? So I think these are the important things. And it is not only the building structure, but later in fact there are a lot to do with the fixtures. So more about, I would say, more of the operational and management and maintenance issues, rather than only about the construction. So hope I try to touch upon your points.
Yes, thank you, sir. Ashish sir, would you also like to address or add to it?
Yeah, I just want to add to Sir's point that I think few technical parameters like embodied energy, bringing green materials into the awareness, all this thing, I think once it will be because largely if we see in India, 60% of the construction is still, you can say, done by the local architects, local, you can say, consultants, and those people. So how we can bring those awareness and those knowledge of material is also important, right? And we know that lot of work has happened in terms of hard to abate sector, how cement, steel can be worked towards decarbonization. But still, I think a lot of awareness and a lot of, you can say, especially coming out of numbers on embodied energy, how much energy we are using for generating, transporting of that construction material. And then when it is aware by, like, it comes under the awareness of the common people that, okay, that this has an impact. And maybe if I use a sustainable green material, that has a different impact. So all those things, I think, going to be important coming days. And we've seen in the green buildings, but it need to be passed on to major construction which is happening through the local architects and local, you can say, consultants.
Okay, thank you, sir. Do you have any more questions? Is it inevitable to go from advanced scientific technologies and inventions and innovations at the cost of life or earth?
So this is a little philosophical, uh, but yes, it is important, Atisha. Basically, we have to learn to create a better balance. But the balance, not only because now we realize that the history is not the always indicating the future. So earlier in our statistical tool or the projections, we used to say that history is a basically it is from history we can forecast the future. But now climatic changes, which is bringing lot of abrupt things with lot of uncertainties. So uh, there are new dimensions which are emerging. So basically we have to use technologies to understand our environment, understand our surroundings in a better way, understand the climatic projections also, and then basically we can evolve. Jindal he was referring to the the building materials, uh, and I think the standards are now being developed looking into both dimensions: technology, material, and also the suitability. It's like Reha 2 and these kind of, and now new models are also coming. So I think there is need to demonstrate these kind of doable and better models. So good models are there now, and how we can Indianize those, and how the Indian models which are better. So I think that can be made a part of the training process. That can be made a part of even the architect and masons orientation on this. Like earthquake, for earthquake we were doing like how to build the design and build the earthquake resistant buildings. But now in fact we have to move from single hazard to multi hazard. The same building which has to be resilient to earthquake, if it is a heat prone area, it has to be prone to it has to be resilient to heat also, And if it is a flood prone area in the monsoon season, we have to think of flood also. So basically we have to move from single hazard to multi hazard also. Yeah.
Next question that we have is lots of, yes, Ashish sir.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just want to give few examples. For example, I remember this is in 2013-14. We used to use normal incandescent bulb, and we used to say that India will take almost few 15-20 years for the phase out of incandescent bulb. And then this Ujala program come, which is basically led by Honorable Prime Minister on the LED thing. So this is a technology, this is an innovation, but this has actually helped uh, country as a country to reduce almost 10 gigawatt of, you can say, new power plant. So I think some way, if we see new technology, R&D and innovation is very important, considering to improve the efficiency in the system, efficiency of the of the any component. Similarly, it is for air conditioners, lot of technology, lot of appliances which we use in our day to day. For example, so yeah, that's I just would like to add. Thank you.
थैंक यू सर. सर वी हैव एन अर्लियर क्वेश्चन. हमसे किसी ने पूछा है कि एयर कंडीशनिंग, जैसे यूजुअली जो एयर कंडीशनर्स हमारे घर पे होते हैं, उसके पीछे से एक गर्म एग्जॉस्ट निकलता है. क्या उस एग्जॉस्ट से हमारी एनवायरनमेंट में और हमारे खुद की पर्सनल हेल्थ पे भी कोई इफेक्ट होता है?
का आंसर मैं करने की कोशिश करूं. नहीं, बहुत ही अच्छा क्वेश्चन है और ये बहुत बेसिक है. जो हीट एक्चुअली क्या है, मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया. जो कूल रूफ होता है वो शॉर्ट वेव लेंथ होता है. तो कूल रूफ से जैसे ही सन आपके रेज आई, वो रेडिएट होके एटमॉस्फेयर के बाहर चली जाती है. बट जो ये वाली हीट होती है, लॉन्गर वेवलेंथ होती है. ये एटमॉस्फेयर के बाहर जा नहीं पाती और ये एक ग्रीन हाउस इम्पैक्ट और ग्रीन हाउस इफेक्ट क्रिएट करती है. अब उसके कारण क्या हो रहा है, more and more AC you are using, more and more urban surface you are having, more and more heat you are getting trapped into, right? So the best solution अगर आप बोलें तो क्योंकि उसमें आपका फिर एक तो केवल ये पार्ट आ गया जो 90% AC कंज्यूम करता है, उसमें कुछ रेफ्रिजरेंट्स भी होते हैं. रेफ्रिजरेंट्स जैसे कि उनका एक टर्म बोलते हैं ग्लोबल वार्मिंग पोटेंशियल, एंड दे आर, फॉर एग्जांपल जो हम आजकल रेफ्रिजरेंट यूज करते हैं वो 800 टाइम्स मोर हीट प्रॉन होते हैं, 900 टाइम, 2000 टाइम्स टू द नॉर्मल CO2 एमिशन जो हम बात करते हैं. तो आई थिंक दो लेवल से वहां पे हीट निकलता है. एनर्जी कंजम्पशन, जो हीट रेडिएट हो रहा है, दूसरा रेफ्रिजरेंट जो या तो लीक होता है या उसकी यूसेज से होता है.
So I think it's insightful. Or the next question is, lots of cement bricks are now being used for house constructions. How heat condition can be managed? There is government restriction on burning bricks, but what should be better? Like, is there an alternative for bricks that can be used for cooler homes or something else?
If I may come in, your NIDM building is made out of
Yes.
fly ash bricks. So they are not the conventional bricks, right?
Right.
So they are, this is a very good, I would say, marriage of the technology as well as the traditional methods of, design. So that would be, you could perhaps have a study on whether, how far it has cooled your building and how far it has, managed your cooling needs compared to conventional brick buildings.
Right. I think that's a very good idea. And also, it's, I think, more sustainable as well. Instead of using the traditional bricks, we have used fly ash in that.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. The last question that we have is, do we have data on the infrastructure of cities which are trapping the heat and threatening lives of the city dwellers?
See, it's not just the infrastructure, it is the entire built up, the built up density and the built up area. So we can't just, say that the infrastructure is the villain. Now, in our cities, about 65% of the infrastructure in India is still to be built, so therefore, but the fact remains that the material, in terms of the asphalt, in terms of roads, and in terms of the other infrastructure that we are building, they are necessary. The point remains is we have to see from a case to case basis as to, or from a context specific analysis as to what we can what changes we can bring into the material part of it, so that the infrastructure is resilient. We don't want to weaken the infrastructure, because those are vital infrastructures, and those also in our country especially, they also perform the role of shelters during disasters, or multi-purpose, they have a multi-purpose use. So especially the social infrastructure, so the schools, hospitals, we can't afford to have hospitals or schools which are not really very resilient. So there has to be a kind of a marriage between the infrastructure also, as well as the green part of it, the BGI, or the blue green infrastructure. So if that gets balanced, like Dr. Gupta said, it's a question of balance. So if that gets balanced, then you're concreting, or however much you're building your infrastructure to, in whichever technology, that doesn't really heat up your city. But if you're not balancing the whole thing, then of course, whether you're building infrastructure or building buildings for residential or commercial, it's going to it is going to eat up your city.
Right. Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So with this, I would like to thank all of our speakers for sparing out time. And I also want to highlight that we have the next webinar in this series on 24th of May, which is the next Friday, at the same time from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. And the topic that we are going to talk about is heatwave preparedness, education and safety for school and children. So you can also see on the screen, you can scan this QR code to register, or we have also mentioned the registration link in the email as well, in the chat box, sorry. So you can click that and register for the next webinar in the series. And now I would invite Ms. Hana from Sphere India to give a brief formal vote of thanks
Yeah.
for this webinar.
Thank you so much, Afisha. Thank you for leading the Q&A session. So as we conclude this enlightening session on impact of leakage on the shelter sector, it's my privilege to extend a heartfelt thank you to all the speakers and our organizers and participants who have contributed in making this event a success. A special thanks to Anil sir and the NIDM team for helping us coordinate the session and plan. And also, I'm thanking our other collaborators. We have AIDMI represent VNRC, and also Center for Disaster and Health, MRDM. And also special thank you to all the other speakers, Dr. Chandrani ma'am, Dr. Ashish, Jugal sir, and Mahon ma'am. Thank you so much for spending time for us today and sharing your insights. And I also would like to thank all our participants. So as Atisha had told before, our next session we will be focusing on the education sector. So if you are an organization working in the education sector, or you work with children or schools, please scan the QR code. You will be having experts in the sector joining us. So looking forward to seeing you all for the next session in the series. Thank you once again. Thank you, everyone.